Hello, everyone. Welcome back to In the Yard podcast with your hosts, Collin Savala and Braeden Cox. And I'm sure, as many of you already know by now, Shohei Ohtani just signed the biggest contract in probably sports history, a $700 million deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think we all kind of saw it coming for the most part. They were the favorite to land him. I know Braeden called it back in probably before the end of the season even started. We kind of figured he would be staying in LA, just going across the street from the Angels to the Dodgers. So we're going to give our reaction right here and In the Yard. Quick reaction, our first thoughts, and what it means for the Dodgers organization overall and the market overall as well, as we still have a couple of free agents, big-name free agents that still haven't signed with the team yet. So I think it was 10 years, $700 million. But the catch is he's only making $2 million per year, and the rest of the money, I think it was like 678 or $680 million of it was deferred for when he retires in 10 years. So we just think that's pretty crazy overall. And now I think it's fair to say the Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series. Bray, what are your first thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, so I know that I don't think that this is the largest contract like ever, right? Because there's a ton of money in soccer, right? I think Mbappe made like somewhere like probably double
I
something
meant
this.
like US.
But in North American history, this is definitely the largest. And yeah, I agree with you. I think you have to say that they're the favorite in the NL, right? Like
you have to. I mean, they were anyway, kind of. Besides maybe
they're one of those teams that they're always going to be like I don't know what the odds were, right? But I'm sure we were talking like Braves, Dodgers, Phillies. Like those teams were already the favorites, and then you just add someone who could potentially be the greatest player of all time to your roster, and they're not done yet, right? They went and got Glasnow last night. Ohtani's contract, him, basically making $2 million per year, and then after the 10 years when he decides to retire, whatever he's going to be doing, he's going to get paid out in like $68 million installments for like another 10 years or something crazy like that. So it's giving them the opportunity to, go sign a Glasnow or maybe get in on the Yamamoto sweepstakes. I don't know, right? But it definitely sets them up well. You see a lot of people online going back and forth as to whether this is good for baseball, whether this is bad for baseball. I mean, salary deferrals in baseball, like we've seen stuff like this before, but I think people are freaking out because it's such a tremendous amount of money. Like he's getting paid $70 million a year, but he's only taking $2 million per year. Like that is something we haven't really seen before, to make so little and kind of bank on, because he's going to be loaded with endorsements. He's going to be playing for, a team that is recognized worldwide. He ain't going to have any problem with that, right? Money's not the issue. It's a matter of winning. So I can't necessarily blame him there. It's going to be interesting to see what other moves they make. I mean, Glasnow's a big move. I mean, but he's also, to me, I think, considered more of like a choker in the playoffs, right? Is that fair or foul to say?
Glasnow, I mean, I wouldn't say he's a choker. I would just say he's just overall inconsistent throughout the season.
Yeah.
I don't think it's mostly a playoffs thing. Actually, and I think I want to say he's had some problems with the injury bug as well.
True, absolutely.
So just that. But I mean, he's a solid pickup. Like when he's performing well, he performs very well. So
he's definitely a good pickup. They probably can't make a deal like that unless Ohtani, does the deferrals, right? Because they're not done yet, obviously, right? Yeah. But it gives them the opportunity to kind of go splash in on, someone who might become available last minute. I mean, Cody Bellinger is still out there. You never know. Like, they could go get him.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, I think you have to say the Dodgers are the favorites, right? But besides the COVID year in 2020 when they won it, right, we haven't really seen them do much. And they've got one of the highest payrolls in baseball. They've been probably a top 3 favorite team in the NL for the past
10 years.
They've always. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is like this isn't anything new. Like their odds obviously increase, but not drastically because they are already widely favored.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see if they can get over the edge, right? Because it kind of seems that, and we've talked about it on the show before, that they have issues once they get to the playoffs, that they kind of fall apart. I mean, it was the Diamondbacks this year who did end up going to the World Series this year. But I think all in all, most people would say that the Dodgers are the better team, that they just fell apart in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like it's what it is every year. They have a great regular season. I know we've all said this on the show. Regular season is kind of more of a tell of how good of a team actually is because there's so many games being played, whereas the playoffs is, it's kind of more of a crapshoot, basically, because there's just anything could happen in baseball, especially. So numbers lie, and it's just super small sample size. But that's besides the point. I think it's fair to say that all these free agency signings from the Dodgers and all this money spending is because of the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's almost reminds me of when the Warriors had to grab Kevin Durant just to beat LeBron in the playoffs. Similar comparison here is Corbin Carroll. They had to do all this just to beat Corbin Carroll and the Arizona Diamondbacks in the playoffs. Maybe it was the last straw for the Dodgers losing to the Diamondbacks and then seeing them advance to not only the NLCS but also the World Series. It's probably the last straw for the Dodgers, and they say they had enough, and then they're basically just building a super team at this point. So everyone could blame the Diamondbacks and Corbin Carroll for the Dodgers dynasty, probably for the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, and to me, right, like, if we're talking about the Dodgers next year, the year after, whatever it may be, and they're in the NLCS and they follow a team like the Braves, right? Or say they make the World Series and they follow a team like the Rangers or the Astros or a team that is,
Or like our Yankees.
Exactly, right? If they fall to a team if they fall to a respectable opponent, and I'm not taking anything away from the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're obviously a respectable opponent because they went to the World Series, right? But there was a reason why they came in as like the lowest or second lowest seed, because they looked really good at the beginning of the season, then they kind of fell off, and then they just got hot late. So it's different if you go to the World Series and you lose to the Rangers in 7, like, fair enough. But it's like losing to the Diamondbacks in division. It blows, right? It's like, you have such a great season and then it just kind of falls apart. And it wasn't particularly close that series.
No, it was a 3-0 sweep, and I think only one of the games was like kind of close.
That first game, I think the first game was like 9-0 after the second inning.
Yeah.
So it's it's one of those things where it might have just gotten to them, and they were just like, we got to go all in. But they were already. It felt like Ohtani was kind of going there anyway before any of that. So, am I mad? True. No. It's going to be really interesting to see like what they do now, because like we're talking about like a legit super team here that they're assembling, especially if they're able to make more moves now with that contract, right? Like if they were to get a Yamamoto or a Cody Bellinger, we're talking about like the real deal. Like this team has the potential to do something like we haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, they so I'm pretty sure the 1, 2, and 3 hitters, assuming it's Betts, Freddie, and Shohei, have all won an MVP. In their respective league at least once. I know Mookie. I think Mookie has an MVP, doesn't he?
I believe so.
I think, and Freddie had one in 2021. I want to say.
Yeah,
and then
Shohei
Freddie
has
2. I just think, I just want to get your opinion, Braeden. Do you think the signing, real quick before we hop off here, do you think it's good or bad for the game? Just this big of a contract for Shohei Ohtani, and it was the Dodgers. There was a couple sleeper teams in there, like the Cubs, possibly the Giants and the Red Sox. They were kind of all in the mix. You could throw the Yankees in there, but inevitably he ends up with the Dodgers. So do you think it's good or bad for the game? Because I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about it on the internet, like you said. So I just want to hear your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? Because I think Major League Baseball, like Manfred and all that, like the casual fan, I guess that's the best way to put this, like the casual fan loves this, right? Because you're putting another marquee player in a massive sports city that is going to be on Sunday Night Baseball and is going to be playing primetime baseball multiple times a week, right? So baseball loves this, right? The casual fan, right? But I could see why someone who's a Pirates fan might not be a fan of this, because they would never be able to do anything like this, right? They would never be able to convince a player like of an Ohtani, and not even like a tier below Ohtani, they'd never be able to offer a contract like this, for one thing, and they would never be able to give the player an option to be like, well, why don't we pay you $2 million per year, and then when you retire, whatever you do after 10 years, we'll pay it, you know what I mean? We'll pay you $68 million a year. They would never be able to do it, right? So in that case, I can kind of see why people would be upset with this. But for baseball overall as a sport, I don't think it's a bad thing, right? Mm-hmm. Because you're going to see a lot of Dodgers baseball, and Dodgers is a worldwide brand. It's good for the brand of baseball. It might not be good for, the diehard fan of, I hate to bring up the Athletics, but something like that, or the Brewer, because it would never happen like this. Right. So, for those teams, I could see why it would leave a little sour taste in the mouth, because it's well, I wish my team could even be able to do something like that, right? Ohtani was never going to go to a Pittsburgh or a Milwaukee or something like that, right? But even if, he was interested, they would never be able to eat, those talks would have never even started, right? Especially with the salary deferral, no way. There's only three, 4, 5 teams that would ever work with. So, it's a smart move for Ohtani. It's a smart move for the Dodgers, right? Dodgers are the brand.
Yeah, exactly. Dodgers are a big market team. They're going to be spending more money than all the other teams, except for maybe, aside from the Yankees, maybe the Red Sox. But it's Dodgers, Yankees, those are probably the two biggest marketable teams, and Shohei was in the West Coast. It just felt like this whole time. So, he chose the Dodgers, and I know people are saying that it's just too much money. No one should even have that much money, not even Shohei Ohtani. But I think I've told you this before. Baseball is just a business. And that's just how it works. You still got to go out there and play every game. You got to play 162 and then playoffs after that. You got to roll them out there. I mean, on paper, yes, they're probably the most stacked team in the league now. But that's why they play the game. And I think it'll make for good entertainment, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of people rooting against the Dodgers now.
Yes,
I know
absolutely.
I, for one, will be rooting against them for the most part. I know it's great for the game, the big names there. And now Shohei there as well. But like I said, it's a business, and they got to play the game still. So maybe they'll actually come through and win a World Series this year, or maybe we'll see them fall in the playoffs once again. But that's what makes it exciting to watch, because there's going to be a lot of people rooting for the upsets, and then you'll have those casual fans that'll probably want the Dodgers to win with Shohei and Freddie and Mookie and JD Martinez. So, and Clayton Kershaw, I'll throw him in there as well. So yeah, I just think it's good for the game overall. It's good for the casual fan. And I know you made the point before, it's probably not so good for the smaller market fans. Yeah. We're kind of spoiled because we're Yankees fans, so obviously bigger market. Yeah. But they got, at the end of the day, you got to go out there and play. It's going to be, and if these underdog teams do end up pulling off an upset, it's going to be that much better for them. So I think it's overall good for the game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this obviously makes the Dodgers better, right? But there's a lot of people on a baseball team. You got pitchers, you got fielders, you got a lot of different factors at play here. I'm just looking, I pulled up the payroll trackers, right? We're talking just ranking them the top 5 or 6. I'll give you the Mets, the Phillies, the Yankees, Braves, Rangers, Astros. Only 3 of those teams have won a World Series in the past 10 years.
Right. So there you go.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where it's you know what I mean? It matters because, you can go get a superstar like Ohtani, right? But at the end of the day, the Diamondbacks were in the World Series last year.
Yeah,
right.
You gotta play.
The Royals
and
won a World Series.
It was cool to see.
Yeah,
like
and the Royals won a World Series in the past 10 years. I think it was 10 years. Maybe that was like
it was like
2014.
It was like 2014, I think.
That's what I'm saying. And that's like a bottom 5. That's a bottom 5 like payroll, right? Look at the Orioles. The Orioles are good. They're a bottom 5 payroll of baseball.
They're all homegrown. I think it's good. Like I think it's good to have that diversity between like those homegrown, less money spending teams, and then have those big market bad guys like the Yankees and the Dodgers. But yeah, I just think it's overall good for the game. And yeah,
it'll be exciting to watch. I'll say that.
Yeah,
cool.
Definitely makes baseball more fun to watch overall. So, gonna be happy about that.
Awesome.
Got anything else?
Nah, that's it.
Yeah,
big
all right.
show. Thanks
everyone for listening. In the Yard, Shohei Ohtani, obviously biggest deal in baseball history. And thanks for listening. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.